Hi everyone, Big T Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new Sleater-Kinney album, The Center Won't Hold. This is the newest full-length LP from legendary punk and indie rock outfit Sleater-Kinney, who made a pretty commendable comeback about 5 years ago with the release of their last full-length LP, No Cities to Love, a record that celebrated the band's tradition of no-frills rock and roll and visceral performances, maybe pulled back just a little bit on the aggression because, you gotta get the CDs and those NPR tote bags. But still, overall it was not a bad album. But even though I liked this record, I was a little surprised to see the band succumb to expectations on this one, because easily my favorite Sleater-Kinney record is their most unorthodox, their 2005 album, The Woods. And I'm well aware how around that time in the band's career, that record and other things too essentially brought them to the brink. The record had essentially been their sudden swan song until they followed it up with that 2014 album, years down the road. So considering the dark and experimental high point the band left us on with The Woods, I've always been curious as to what the results would be if they went even further into that direction. And it seemed like the possibility of that was becoming a reality with some of the weird promotional imagery being released around this record, along with Annie Clark of St. Vincent fame having her hands in the production on this one. And it's been a tumultuous lead up to the release of this album, to say the least. Some of the teaser tracks have been good, some of the teaser tracks have been bad, and we also saw the complete departure of longtime drummer Janet Weiss. One of the most celebrated drummers in indie rock history, she's gone and wants no part of the band's new direction. Damn, my guy. Damn. And honestly, that just made me more intrigued, because I was sitting here thinking, man, this album's either got to be really out there or really bad for Janet not to want to have anything to do with it. And hearing the final results of this album myself, it's maybe okay. Maybe. I guess the worst part of it is there's little to no rhyme or reason or consistency to the record. The aesthetics are all over the place, the songwriting quality is a crapshoot. Many of the attempts to step outside of the band's stylistic comfort zone don't pan out. There are moments on this thing that are disappointingly basic. The hollow, plucky bass notes and shimmery synths and measured drum beat on the song Reach Out, what is this? Is this a Foster the People song? You just consciously pulled from one of the stalest and deadest trends in indie rock, and I don't know why. Granted, the hook is much better than the verses and very sinister in tone, but the squawky, wailing, difficult to corral in guitar leads that play underneath the chorus just seem really beneath a band that is typically so methodical and tight. The band sounds even more inspired on the song Restless, with these very twangy, clean guitar chords, a hint of reverb to make the chord progression sound a bit more somber. And it's not a bad ballad, the songwriting actually makes up for how plain the instrumental sounds. But sonically, the song isn't really up to the standards that made Sleater-Kinney such an important band to begin with, especially when the track just gives up out of nowhere and ends into this awkward tumble just after a very small wash of strings enter into the picture. The song Ruins is probably the most brooding slow burner on the entire record. If there's any song on this album that has Annie Clark's fingerprints all over it, it's this one. Carrie Brownstein's vocals are shouty and dramatic as usual, but the leave a light on for you refrains are a bit of a tough sell. It gets even tougher as we are introduced to these buried drum beats and constantly growling, distorted, glitchy bass. I can't even tell what they are. They're just constantly going in the background. And then on top of this, we have all of this ghoulish singing and Halloween synths that just sound like a joke. The song Love is an interesting change of pace in that I think the writing on this track is just classic Kinney with its very youthful vocals, its angular guitar leads, but that's changed up a bit as it's matched with these poppy synths and a very upbeat rhythm, a set of vocal harmonies as well that seem like something out of an old Slits record. It's actually one of the few unlikely genre combos on this thing that really work. Also loved the track Can I Go On, despite how poppy the backing instrumentation is. The beat and bass lines sound like something out of an old 60s girl group song, but the band consciously subverts that style in a very post-punky way with these very squawky and grating guitar leads, and Carrie Brownstein's voice is all contorted and shouty, kind of beating on your eardrums. For Sleater-Kinney, Bad Dance sounds uncharacteristically edgy. It's got this super dark and dramatic tone. It's like they're trying to stick to their indie rock roots, but pull off their own version of, I don't know, an Imagine Dragons song like Believer. The Future Is Here is sadly one of the few moments in the Sleater-Kinney discography where I cannot stand the lyrics at all. It's basically a Luddite's lament about feeling lonely in the information age, which granted is an issue, but boiling it all down to little glowing screens for Sleater-Kinney is kind of reductive, as a great deal of this record is, sad to say. From the trying too hard to sound tortured intro on this thing to the very, very, very tedious piano ballad that it finishes with. Yes, there are a few bright spots on this record here and there. The track Hurry On Home is another moment that sounds like classic Kinney, but with some added atmosphere and epic vocal harmonies. It sounds bigger, tougher, stronger. We also have the chorus to The Dog, the Body, which kicks quite a bit of ass too. But generally, this thing is a very unfocused, ungroomed, and unfulfilling project. The band puts out some of their worst material yet. I do get the genuine feeling that they were trying to do something different and were really reaching out there, taking a risk, and I appreciate that. That's not always a bad thing. But sadly, a majority of what the band was attempting here didn't quite work out in my view. I'm feeling a decent 2 strong 5 on this one. Transition, have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best, you're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Anthony Fantano, Sleater-Kinney, The Center Won't Hold, forever.